You're listening to Power Athlete Radio, a podcast dedicated to empowering your performance every damn day. Join former NFL pro and Power Athlete founder John Welborn as he dissects the greatest minds in strength, conditioning, and more. So whether your goal is to be the hammer, destroy mediocrity, or simply move the dirt, you've come to the right place. Now with the warm-up done, let the gains begin.
We interrupt this episode with a shameless self-promotion. Are you a field or court sport athlete looking to dominate the leaderboard? Let me introduce you to Field Strong. Take your inner athlete to the next level by exposing yourself to the advanced training techniques that contributed to my 10 years in the NFL. Unlock pinnacle performance and level up your athletic potential today. Head to powerathletehq.com/fieldstrong and claim your 7-day free trial. Now back to the show. You don't get requests for podcasts, or do people not think to like hit up offensive linemen for podcasts?
I just don't know how many guys are really doing it. I haven't seen a whole lot of podcasts with other offensive linemen on it. I feel like, you just see the defensive end, 2-sack game. He's going on the podcast talking about how great he is. It's mostly just locker room interview and, keep it short and sweet and kind of keep it pushing.
So are you telling me that there is a potential market for us to start a podcast where it's just primarily talking to other offensive linemen?
I could see the market opportunity for that. I mean, like you said, there's a collective group of guys that are really interesting, different hobbies, different personalities. How does the room kind of fit together? And it'd be kind of fun.
Yeah, no, dude, we're going to talk about this because I think that the market needs this. And on top of it, like the only time I ever see any offensive line stuff, it's your mentor, your life coach, your body double, Big Duke. And I think we need to bring this thing back a little bit from Big Duke and bring it back to because most offensive linemen are usually pretty sharp. They're like esoteric thinkers. They're guys that understand teamwork, but they also understand dynamics and everybody kind of fits in. Occasionally you get a few guys that are mouth breathers, but for the most part, offensive linemen are usually pretty funny. They're by far the funniest, most intellectually stimulating people on all of my offense, on all the teams I played on. Like offensive line dudes are always I had Runyon. Runyon is by far one of the funnier dudes, but yet nobody knows it.
Yeah, no, usually the offensive linemen are, sticking together. Like in our locker room, we have a little campfire kind of session that goes on after practice. We all bought these, the rookie bought it for us, these reclining chairs. We kind of just, sit down after post-practice debrief, bust balls about what happened to practice and all stuff. And it's great. It's my favorite time of the day when we finish practice, the day's over, and we just get to sit down, shoot the shit for a little bit, and, kind of have this little, campfire moment right after practice is over. Dude,
that's super sharp. You guys don't meet right after practice to watch the film?
We do some days. Usually like the Wednesday practice, the longer days is go in there, watch the film, chop it up, and then, you get out. But, it's been kind of nice in some ways. We get out pretty early. Coach takes care of us, so that's nice too. Kind of get your body work in, your mental kind of recovery with the guys. So, that there's a little bit benefit to both doing it both ways.
You're in your 5th year. I know you guys got a bunch of young guys. Who's the oldest guy on your offensive line?
Brian O'Neill, team captain, right tackle guy I get to play next to. Really good leader, really good player. It's been fun playing next to him. Just a great athlete, out in space. Some big pancakes on screens this year. Phenomenal pass protector, works really well, passing off games and stuff like that. So kind of like you were saying, when we do that campfire thing post-practice, I think all those moments when you do stuff outside the building kind of brings the group closer together. And I really think that has a big impact on how the group plays on the field together.
Yeah. For offensive line, I don't know if people realize it, but most of the guys kind of fit within the same general framework. So you end up kind of befriending other offensive linemen. And next thing you know, you go out to dinner and you hang out, and these are just kind of your friends. And there's definitely an interesting dynamic when the guy that you're playing next to is a good friend of yours. You've eaten dinner at his house, his kids, his wife, his family, and you guys are pretty close. It's definitely a different feeling opposed from playing with guys that you really don't fucking like. And if the car was broken down on the side of the road, you just drive past them with a middle finger, Yeah. So most offensive linemen or offensive lines have good camaraderie because of that. But how old is the right tackle?
I think he just turned 30.
So he's in his seventh, 8th year?
Yeah, eighth, maybe going to 9, something like that. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure, but it's got to be something like that.
Yeah, dude. And then you guys got a ton of
Oh,
young
sorry.
guys.
And then we had sorry to cut you off. We had Ryan Kelly too. I played with
Oh,
at the Colts. He's going into his 10th year. He's got 3 kids who I've been close with for a really long time. So we had a bunch of old guys in the room this year. It was fucking awesome.
yeah. Isn't it crazy? You're like,
Yeah.
dude, that fucking old guy that's 30 years old with 3 kids. You're like, God damn, this guy. I remember when I was a young guy, if you were 30, you might as well have been 400. And
I feel like when you get the scouting report on like the other teams and, they kind of highlight the guys, if you're 30, you're highlighted in red. And it's like, this guy is, a target we have to get after him. Like, still see like a lot of really good 30-year-old players out there. Like, I don't know where this idea came from, but like, it's fucking crazy.
dude,
I like, maybe it's different now than it was when you played. Like,
No,
guys
no,
can,
no, no, no,
take
no,
care of
no.
their bodies a little better, but it's fucking insane.
dude, I remember being 29 and, my birthday's in March, the end of March. So, off season, I remember I left and I was 29 and then I came back at 30 and it was as if, like death was on me. Like everybody was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then all of a sudden it was like you turned 30 and they were like, you're 30 now. And I remember being like, well, I was just 29 like a few months ago. Like, why is it that's like nothing's changed? And it was this complete, like, and I remember the same thing, sitting in meetings, looking at the scouting report and being like, oh, this guy's getting up there. He's getting a little long in the tooth. He's a little old. He's about to turn 30. And like, there was such a weird perception of like, 29 is fine, 30, but then like, I felt like it changed. What's his name? The guy that was playing left tackle for the Rams, Whitman?
Whitworth, yeah.
Yeah. Whitworth? Is that how you say his name?
Yeah, Andrew Whitworth, yeah.
Yeah. He was fucking hot garbage when he played for Cincinnati. He was trash, dude. He wasn't very good. And he wasn't very good at the Rams. But he just happened to be around long enough and he's a big dude and got people's way. And now he's got a shaved head and he's on fucking TV. And they, NFL Man of the Year, like that dude beat up nobody. He was out there like, and I'm just being honest, probably super nice dude, NFL Man of the Year, not to throw any shade at him. But like, there's a situation where like that dude, gray beard out there, like looked like Father Time. And I was like, Jesus Christ. Like that guy might as well have been 400 years old, but like they still had faith in him. So it's pretty interesting how like guys kind of get into this kind of role and they're able to kind of transcend it, like, Tom Brady or him and some of the other guys. Whereas other dudes, like 30 years old, you're fucking out. And it was kind of annoying because, like you still feel like you have good football in you and they just kind of fucking treat you like hired help. And like, you're out the door, you're 30, next year you're going to be really old. You're going to be 31. And you're like, fuck, dude, you guys like, so I think because of that, I viewed 30 as like, you might as well have been 400 and then to be 40 and now, closer to 50. Like I never even thought like, I never even thought about how far that was. I was like, fuck, I just kind of figured you'd be dead by that point in life. This episode of Power Athlete Radio is brought to you by the Business of Strength. Imagine making this your strongest business year yet with more revenue, better systems, and a gym that practically runs itself. Sounds like a dream. But that's exactly what the Strongest Year Project delivers. It's a 12-month mastermind for gym owners, packed with one-on-one coaching, real-world systems, bi-weekly calls, and a roadmap to transfer your business from inside and out. Just like they did at Varsity House Gym. Ready to stop guessing and start growing? Go to businessofstrength.com/attend and join the Strongest Year Project today.
It's funny because it's like, I feel like, contractually too, it's like guys that are 30 and like, you're like, oh man, you had a really good year, like probably get extended to like, 3-year, like good level deal. And it's like 1 year deal. And it's like, they kind of just keep hanging on like a mercenary.
Yeah. Dude, I remember in my, I got done with the Chiefs and I went into my 10th year and all of a sudden like people are offering me like 1 year deals with like veteran minimum with like all of these like insane, playoff bonuses and like all of this stuff. And I was like, yeah, I mean, like you guys, I was like, dude, I just started every game of my NFL career that I was like, was healthy for, right? I mean, not the ones I missed from injury. And all of a sudden, like you guys are offering me veteran minimum. I mean, so like you have to, and for you, you're in a great position because, you obviously have that deal, but like, 5 years and 4, they're going to come back and hopefully in 3 or something, maybe they renegotiate it. And then you can kind of like push past that in the renegotiation. Whereas, like I didn't really think about that. Like nobody said like, hey, you need to potentially re-sign a deal when you're 27 and 28 at the height so that you can push into your 30s. And I think that's, and then if you have big money up front and a bunch of stuff and you're still playing at a high level, like they're okay with it. Like, oh, he's our guy, but fucking, it's just, It's a weird deal. So obviously super stoked to get you on the podcast. I'm glad that I get to be your first memorable podcast. So I appreciate, that form of, me taking your, podcasting virginity. Can I say that? It's kind of a little,
I guess like
it's kind of a little creepy.
Maybe.
Are you a born again now? I mean, did you sign a podcast? Did you sign a big contract and now you became a God squatter?
No, I mean, teach their own, I guess. But still me. That's the only thing. I'm still me.
Well, in the NFL, the biggest guys that end up becoming big God squatters, it's usually on the heels of doing something fucked up. Like you get a DUI, you beat your wife, you get caught for cheating, then you have to go back to God. And then that's when you start carrying the Bible around. You got to get some, religious tattoos. And so it's pretty funny. We used to see guys and be like, oh, he's got to go to Jesus, to like prove that he's a good guy after being a piece of shit. God, the NFL is fucking amazing. So
crazy place.
Well, what was fun was working with you. And then, as you kind of got to see a little bit of it, and then me being able to like feed a lot of my like 10-year veteran stuff in you, I saw like us having conversations and like light bulbs would go off and you'd be like, I never fucking thought of that. That's fucking crazy. Yeah. And so, hopefully now you can be the voice in the locker room or within your offensive line and tell the young guys and fucking set them straight on shit.
Yeah, no, it was awesome coming down there. I guess publicly saying I really appreciate having me down there. Like, got to learn a lot, training wise, football wise, mentality wise, and it really helped me going into that fourth year of the league before I got injured and stuff like that. But it was a blast. Like a lot of the stuff he taught me, I still use, and whether it's just mentality, keeping shit simple, or kind of stuff we would do on the weekends, running off the ball and. All of it really helped, and I still use a lot of it too. So I mean, it was a great experience for me to come down there and get to train for a little bit. Yeah, no, I like watching you on film. My only critique is I think you guys play too high. Like you can bend, you're a knee bender, you have good flexibility, you can drive your knees out, you can get into position. And I think all that comes from is just the fact that like everybody plays so fucking high. Like I was watching you out there and like, it was funny that first couple games and I hit you up and like it's all of a sudden I saw you sinking a little bit lower, getting your butt down. And then you started moving dudes off the ball. But it was kind of funny, like how high people are. And it just like that was something that I always looked at. But no, man, I thought you played great and it sucked that you got hurt. But and I remember after you got hurt, your wife called me and I was like, I think he's done enough. And like, I was kind of like thinking, I was like, well, shit, man, like he's played enough. And then to, be coming off that injury and sign a monster deal and then get a chance to go to Minnesota. And, when did you end up starting 17 games this year and being healthy? And I mean, it's fucking awesome, dude. No, I appreciate it. Yeah. Like between all the stuff that, taking care of my body and coming off the injury and the stuff that you helped me with, kind of just like the nutrition aspect and the supplements and the recovery, the PIMF, like all that stuff, like it was like a long journey of a year of like getting back on the field. And like, when you're playing, your only goal is to play the best you can. But it's like when you get hurt, now you have to refocus your mission. It was just the only thing I was focused on was coming back. And you helped me out a lot with that. So, spent the whole year grinding out doing that. And, leg didn't feel good, really much of the year, but I was able to, start 17 of them. So I was really proud of that.
Well, yeah. And like that also dispels a lot of myths, like I'm sure there were people when, you went into free agency coming off that injury and you signed that big deal. I'm sure that there was fucking pieces of shit general managers and fucking shitty scouts that are like, like fucking harumph, not like, I don't know if he, like casting fucking doubt on you. And those people are notoriously shitty for that because unless, it's their idea or they think this guy's great, everybody else is a fucking idiot. So I'm stoked that Minnesota put a bunch of faith in you and signed you. And I thought you guys did great, man. I was rooting for you other than the fact that I think your coach doesn't like to run the fucking ball. But that makes sense. And I think the most hilarious thing is he was our rookie quarterback when I was at the Patriots. And then all of a sudden I'm looking, I'm like, I know that fucking guy. And he sucked as a quarterback. And then he never gave you guys a fucking chance to run the ball. So I was stoked that you guys did so well, man. I thought your defense fucking stepped up. And like I was stoked to just see you guys. I mean, I would have liked to see you guys run the ball a little bit more. But I have a feeling maybe in the offseason you guys will get like a little help in terms of like, I mean, dude, everybody's going back to like bringing a fullback in and having like a legitimate runner. I mean, because I feel like if you're going to do it, you got to have somebody that's going to go out and run the rock for 300 yards.
Yeah, no, I mean, like not like obviously the whole season, like not going the way we wanted to. I think we finished on a really strong note, like winning 5 in a row.
Yeah.
Even though we were out of it for a while, I think just kind of shows like we have a lot of really good dudes on our team that care, and it's like a lot of really positive stuff to carry into this off season and take it to next year. Like we kind of proved that we have the guys to do it, and it's kind of just about starting a little bit stronger, continuing that momentum through the beginning of the year, and we show that we can finish it strong, and why not do it again?
Yeah. Well, and you also carried all the momentum into next season. I always remember on the teams where you start fast and you taper off, there's almost this feeling of like going into the off season, but you guys ended on such a high note, man. I was really pulling for you guys. It was awesome to see. So I have a couple questions I kicked over to you that I wanted to address on this thing, seeing as this is going to be the podcast going into the Super Bowl. And I thought these are kind of funny questions just for the fact I want to hear your perception, but like how much and I can answer this and I'm sure you can too, but like how much do you really enjoy like the Super Bowl as a player? Like I know you're probably not going to the Super Bowl. I never went. I like the thought of like having to battle through the crowds and this, like I wish I'd gone to see the spectacle, but like just the thought of having to navigate like the fucking commotion and the parking and getting to the seats, like gives me anxiety. But like, as you sit down and watch the game, like how much do you really enjoy it? And like, I know it'd be a hell of a lot more fun to be playing in it, but like watching it, it was like kind of a weird kind of bittersweet where you're watching these guys, you know them on film, and then they're in this big situation. And there's always this feeling of like, fuck man, I want to be there.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. Like that's always the goal. Like I'll probably never go unless I'm playing in the game. Like I do enjoy watching it because of you play these teams throughout the year. We played Seattle this year and they got after us pretty good. Unfortunately, we played New England. We had a couple joint practices against them, so we got to see them firsthand. It's like the league is just so tight as a whole, and it's like these teams that are kind of able to find a way to finish at the end and string together some consistency. Like that's where you get the edge. Like every team has talented players, and it's like, even though we didn't finish where we went to, it's like you really feel like you're not that far off. And I get from like optics and stuff like that. Like on the outside, it's like no, you're not even close. You need to make the playoffs and all that stuff. But like it's really like the game is so tight and every game is so competitive. I think like it's got to be like 80% of the games are a 1-score game. Like everything is just so tight. And it's like like it's out there in front of you, and you just kind of have to string together that little bit extra that other teams can't do in the end.
Yeah. No, it's a interesting thing to like see there, and like and for teams that don't get a chance to go to the Super Bowl or don't go deep in the playoffs, it's almost like this like mythical island that they hear about they never get to. We had Joe Thomas on the podcast, and he never played in a playoff game. And like when we were on, he went, played 13 years in the Hall of Fame and this whole deal, and he never saw anybody on their best day. And he said it on the podcast. He's like, yeah, everybody came to play for Cleveland. Like they knew we were never in the playoff hunt. I never got anybody on their best day. And I liked it that way, which was the exact opposite of my mentality. I wanted the best player on the biggest day on the biggest stage to have their best game and like let me see exactly. So it was funny as we were talking about it, I was like, holy shit, my whole thinking was a 180, but I also played in 3 NFC championship games and 10 playoff appearances, and like was like knocking on the door of going to the Super Bowl and playing on playoff games. And it just was a very interesting mentality. How fucking loud is Seattle?
Seattle's a brutal place to play. It was loud. I mean, the fans were in it the whole time, and I think we were down. It had to be 3 scores, and it was still loud. Like it was pretty miserable. But I think it's crazy. It's like
it's crazy because the stadium almost goes up and it curves, and it feels like the people are on top of you.
It's probably the most college-like feel NFL scene that you can get to. I mean, I haven't played in every place. I haven't played in Arrowhead and a couple of these other pretty loud places. But playing at Penn State, obviously a pretty loud environment. Big Ten, you go to play Ohio State, really loud. Iowa's really loud. Like it feels like that. It just for the amount of people they have in NFL stadiums, like they created a lot of volume, and it's hard to communicate out there. It was not fun.
So how that's a good segue. Like how much freedom do you have to like make calls and call things out? I mean, obviously the center comes down, he's always going to call the mic and kind of direct the protection, but as they start kind of breaking into the audibles, or as you guys get into stuff, like do you have like freedom to kind of make some changes, or even when you come over on the sideline, they start, I'm sure when you guys all sit down, they come over with the blocking sheets and they're fucking annoying the shit out of you with a bunch of stuff you already know what's happening. My always favorite was they come over, they're like, what's happening out there? And you're like, aren't you watching the fucking game? Like, isn't somebody in your ear? And like we would, sit down and like give them, be like, hey, I know the game plan you guys put in and what you want to do, but it's not working because they're doing this. We need to do this. But I think playing on like with some veteran guys, I was fortunate to play with like, Willie Rofe and Will Shields and, Brian Waters and these guys who were like, fucking Hall of Fame veterans. So like I felt like the coaches were more willing. I just wonder like you being new in the first year and like kind of like having some young guys, if they allowed you to have that level of input.
Yeah, I think it kind of starts back to when I was in Indy and Quentin Nelson like did a really good job, and like super smart player. Like he was able to see like a lot of things like really clearly, guys blitzing, tendencies, and like he talked a lot at the line, and I think I really learned that from him and tried to carry it over the best I could. Like if you're having some sort of power play and you see the 9 tech kind of started to inch down, like you got to call that out, so he knows where he's pulling and fitting in, like without messing up, the QB and whatever he's looking at. Like there's a lot of communication that goes on like right in front of you. And if you can tell guys tightening down, like it's important that you let the other side know, because, maybe they're running some sort of, replacement pressure or something like that. And like can really affect the whole blocking scheme. Yeah, I would say that I had good freedom to, kind of call out what I saw. And, you don't want to be wrong because then guys stop trusting you. So, you got to use that, that power wisely. But yeah, I think that whole communication piece like really goes together with how what I'm seeing as right guard can affect the left tackle. It really is maybe the average viewer doesn't see exactly every like piece of it, but like that when the breakdowns happen, like that can be something a piece of it, like the communication was off, or the guard to guard wasn't hearing what maybe there's some sort of top stun inside. So there's really a lot that goes into the communication piece of it, and take a lot of pride in A, trying to be right, but B, doing enough film study that you can kind of see those things ahead of time. You're not thinking too much while you're playing.
Yeah, the historically offensive linemen always watch a lot of film, and like the way I've used film is it was almost like a superpower. That if I watched enough, and you get to the point where like, and the issue, and I don't know if people know this, but defensive linemen are by far the dumbest people on the entire field. When they did intelligence testing in Wonderlicks, like, there's a certain score range. Like as long as the defensive linemen are able to spell their name correctly, they're considered okay. And so they're just not very smart. Like it's just historically, like as a group, they're just dumb fucks. And so what we would end up doing is you end up watching film and you realize that a lot of the linebackers and these guys like kind of like push these guys and come over and tap them, especially if there's a twist. And you find these little tendencies to the point where like, hey, every time this guy plays in a wide 3, they're going to run this when this guy's in a tight 5. I mean, to the point where you're like, we've seen it on film, and you get in your stance and you're like, holy shit, it looks just like I saw it. They're not even trying to hide it. So then we used to do like, like little like fake calls. And the funny part is I used to do fake calls, and like about 50% of the time, Trey Thomas, who I played with, would forget that we were doing dummy calls. He'd be like, no, that's not the right one. And I'd be like, it's a dummy. And he'd be like, oh shit, sorry. And so then in the huddle, I would have to tell him, hey, I'm going to make a dummy call. And he's like, okay. And then we'd get up there and I'd be like 50-50. But I like the watching of the film and like really slowing it down and looking for tendencies, to the point where like all of a sudden you're like, all right, they're in cover 2. This guy's going to come here. They're going to bring in this. And you start looking at like personnel packages down in distance. And I think people only think that quarterbacks look at that stuff. But, usually the center's in the meeting with the quarterbacks. But I also really enjoyed like getting those cuts and looking at what they were looking for tendencies. And then, that was like a really good superpower. I know you guys had a young quarterback, he was a first rounder in 2024. And so, he's, coming into his second year, and was it JJ McCarthy?
Yep, that's right.
Yeah. So, I mean, was it he's still relatively young. I don't think Minnesota had a great year last year, and they're trying to do this rebuilding. Like, was there any kind of flashes of brilliance that you saw in him where you're like, oh shit, man, this kid's really going to come into his own?
Yeah, I think if you're speaking on JJ's character, like he's got like, a little bit of like moxie, like he knew like a little bit of it factor. So it makes him like really fun to play with. Like, like, like when he's coming in the huddle, like he can, catch fire at any moment. Like that's kind of like fun to see in a young guy who, he's like, he's got a little something to him. But yeah, I think that, you definitely saw those flashes of, what he can be. Was it perfect all the time? No, but like, there was, big play potential, all the time. And he, ended up making some really good throws down the stretch there, used his legs, when he needed to. So like, I think that he's only going to continue to get better and develop. And like, when you believe in like, the kid that, he's got something to him, I think he's going to be a really good player, once he comes into his own a little bit more and, stays a little more even keeled. And, it's all part of the learning process when you're that young.
Yeah, well, I mean, he played at Michigan. I mean, you play at like Michigan and some of those bigger schools. I mean, you're used to playing in like, 103,000 people in a stadium. So I always think kids that get an opportunity to come from those bigger schools, when they get to the NFL, they're almost like, like the joke we used to make is like, hey, those kids are probably getting paid better in college than they were in the NFL, which now with the NIL is fucking true.
These kids actually true, yeah.
Yeah, these kids are actually taking pay cuts. They're trying to stay in college longer because, like the issue, and I don't know if many people realize this, but the NFL is a very tight-knit group of individuals, and it's a very small number of people that get to do that job. When you think about the entirety of college, like there's a good chance that a kid who's making a couple $1 million in college to play goes and doesn't ever make an NFL roster. And I think that's not what, like, people think like, oh, this kid was pretty good in college. Like, I played with a ton of good college players that like never pissed a drop, like showed up and had a cup of coffee in the NFL, like just because it's just such a different game, the speed of the game and like just a completely different game. I mean, personally, I liked the pro game way more than college. Like I thought college was slow for things to develop. Like, I felt like I had to block people for like 20 seconds and people were running around and you never knew who the quarterback was. I liked the NFL because it was like the ball snaps fast. You hit, 3 seconds, you move, the ball gets in, you run downfield, and then you get it in again. So just like the speed, and I don't know if it is an ADD thing, but like I love the speed of the NFL. College just felt like it was like watching paint dry all the time.
Oh no, I'm completely with you. Like I pretty much exclusively watch NFL now. Like I don't really turn college football on much at all anymore. But all the same reasons. Like it's a faster game. It's more competitive. All the players, the best of the best. And like, I enjoyed my time like playing there. But once I got to the NFL, I'm like, oh, I love this game way better. Like the scheme that you run and how the run, the play action pass marry, and then your screens over play action pass. Like it's just a more complete system all in all. And it's I have a lot more fun playing it. And it's kind of like to your point before when you're talking to Joe Thomas, like you actually get to measure up, how am I against these players, against the best of the best. Like it's kind of fun in that way. Like when you do all this off-season training and you do all this work, it's like, I want to know how did it work and where do I stack up and, what do I need to keep getting better at?
Yeah. Well, it's, I always looked at the training space, and I'm sure you've heard me say this ad nauseum, but like the idea of like sharpening the blade, right? Like I'm going to like make the cleanest cuts I can. I got to make sure the blade is sharp, it's strong, it's like well taken care of. And the place you do that is in the off season, and you still have to train through the season. I think what happens for a lot of people, like it becomes like everything, like this is the full-time job, this is what expected me, and you have to be, and they used to always say this, like be a professional, like you're not in college anymore, even though those kids today are like pros, because they don't even go to school, I guess. But, we were living like, $740 a month on a scholarship check. My rent was $500 and you got like a couple $100 a month to live on. And like, you're living below the poverty line. So then all of a sudden you get a chance to go to the NFL and you're like, this transition to being a pro. So I'm really fascinated to see how these kids who are like massive NIL stars in college, like how they transition into the NFL, or if whether or not they peak early. Like, I always wanted, my best football to be, like when I got to the NFL, I wanted to have my best games. I didn't want to be like, oh man, because I mean, we used to run in that a bunch. Like guys were world beaters and these incredible college players, and they just could not ever pick up the NFL game. And I like when I used to hear that, I was like, man, it's so weird. This feels easier, and this game is more like this style of football is better for me than the college stuff was. Whereas I knew other guys that were, just massive world beaters in college that never really panned out in the NFL. So it's pretty wild. Is there, you've pretty much, at Penn State, you played on turf, and then you played on turf when you were in Indy, and then you went to another turf field in Minnesota. So the entirety of your NFL career and almost all your entire college career, you've played on some form of like artificial surface. Is there like a feeling when you go play on natural grass, like, oh, thank God, or does it feel a little strange?
I like the natural grass a lot. I know there's a big debate with the PA stuff and trying to get it uniform. Like, to me, it doesn't really matter as much if grass versus turf. I will say though, this is the first year I've noticed like the grass versus turf debate, like practicing on it nonstop and coming off the injury. Like, it's like, okay, like I feel the difference a little bit more now, just like joint wise and my leg and stuff like that. Like, then I can feel the difference. But when you have to play on that natural grass and like your jersey gets a little dirty, maybe you get like a good finish and roll onto the ground, like that's a pretty cool feeling. Like that just like feels like you're back there, sixth grade football in the backyard with your buddies, messing around. Like that feels like that's just like fun. Like football, it's like its purest form to me.
Yeah, no, I liked playing on grass. I remember when I first went to Philly, we had this like painted concrete. And then they went to this like field turf and like, with little crushed up tires, which is kind of interesting because now they found that like is causing a bunch of weird cancer in people. I'm like, God damn, like anything else. And then awesome. And then they pulled that out and we went to grass. And dude, I like playing on grass. Like I don't feel like I'd always feel like my joints, like my hips and my knees and my ankles got hot when we played on like for turf for too much. And even on the practice stuff, there's just kind of like your feet get hot and it's just, I don't know. But I mean, you guys play in domes and it's in Minnesota. And even though Green Bay does play outside in the grass, but I remember the first time, and I'm sure this happened to you. Was there any places that you played like where you kind of felt like the historic nature of like, holy shit, I'm playing in Green Bay? And like, like NFL films where they'd be like, it's a cold day at Lambeau Field. And then they'd show these things to like be there.
It's cool.
In the locker room, it's like, holy shit, like I'm part of the legend now.
It's super cool. Like where we stay, the hotel we stay at, when we go to play Green Bay, they have like Vince Lombardi's, first playbooks kind of, mounted on the wall in there. You could see the Packers sweep drawn up and, these kind of old school formations. It's really cool. And then you actually go to the game day experience. And it's like Green Bay is just in like the middle of like this normal suburban town in Wisconsin. It's like all of a sudden there's a ginormous stadium. It's really cool. I enjoy the historical, just like football fan in me aspect of playing at Lambeau. Like, I'm trying to think if there's anywhere else like that, but like Lambeau is like by far the one that sticks out as like, this is like a cool, like just football moment. And like that I was able to experience in my career.
Yeah. We played in the last game of Soldier Field, like the old Soldier Field.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So like, they weren't supposed to make the playoffs. So, they were just expecting to bulldoze it and then they had to like stop. So when we showed up, they had like all the construction equipment around, and then we ended up going playing them in the playoffs, and we beat them. And as we were walking off the field, because at the end you go see everybody, and you're kind of like milling around and like walking off the field after this playoff win, and the construction guys started coming on the field and bringing the machinery on the field, and it was a night game.
Wow.
So it was like, Sunday or, Saturday night, I think. And these guys started rolling the stuff on and we went in, got showered, got on the buses. And as we were sitting on the buses waiting to leave, you could see them start digging everything up. I mean, it was pretty neat, to play in the last game there and, playing in, like god awful Dallas Stadium, but even like going down to Miami and Tampa and some of the other places. It's kind of neat to like just go to these different spots and, experience it. And I don't know if the average fan realizes that like as NFL players, like we watched this game growing up, we played in college. There's always this, whether or not you as a little kid dreamed of playing in the NFL. I didn't. I never even thought it was much of a reality until I got to college. But like, we used to go to Raiders games and you see it as a fan, and then all of a sudden to be there, like when I remember the first time we went to play in Oakland, having gone to Berkeley. Like that was crazy to actually see the black hole and like, as you're pulling in, there's like grandma, grandpa, son, daughter, and child, and like little kids all sitting there giving you like double middle fingers, like, all of a sudden, like some 60-year-old dudes like bare assing you and like, it's literally, dude, like the fucking lowest level life form scum of the earth or the Raiders fans. And like the fact that like, I didn't feel like it was going to be a good day unless I saw like some like old dude, some like old woman, or like some little kid just giving me fingers screaming, fuck you. And I'd be like, it's going to be a good day. And,
that's awesome. That's what you want. Like you said, you grow up and then, kind of showing that on TV and like, this is what I dreamed about doing when I was, a little kid.
Yeah. So when JJ went down this year and the backup like came in, like how does that like change? You know, because I mean, like I don't know if the listener understands. Like in the NFL, the starters take the majority of the reps, right? Like I mean, it's like 100%. Like I can't think of a time in practice where a backup ever came in who like, you know, if, you know, like the 5 guys that are starting, you go out, like the ones take everything. Like, I don't even remember like the 2s ever coming in. Like maybe they rotated them in, but like you know, usually the backup quarterback's over there throwing, you know, scout team and kind of throwing against the other, getting his reps there. So like they don't really get a lot of opportunities to practice with the ones, maybe a little bit in training camp, but not during the season because they invest all the time in the starter. So all of a sudden when he goes down and the backup comes in, like, how did that have to change? I mean, you know, they obviously simplify the game plan, simplify the calls, but like, you know, was it like that in your team? Is the same way?
Yeah, it was interesting for us because we had Carson Wentz, who had basically gotten there just before the season started, and came in really at the end of training camp there. So coming into a new system, obviously has a lot of experience. Just playing in general.
Yeah.
But to come in, like you said, like he really had no reps, and then JJ went down after week 2 initially, and he had to come in and basically with no reps and had that week of practice, and then went out there and slung it. It's tough, but that's kind of your job. Anytime you're a backup in the NFL, I was a backup in the first year and a half I was there. Like you get your practice reps against the backup players, and you're really playing against the ones when you're on the scout team. So like that's good. Like that helps you get better, but you're not practicing your scheme. You're not practicing your calls. Like, so it's kind of on you to take that preparation of, kind of upon yourself and be ready to play when you're called upon.
Yeah. I mean, and he's an older guy. I think he's in his, fucking dreaded 33 years old, like old.
Yeah.
So like, you can bring in a veteran guy like that who steps in, who's had success. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely, I don't think people realize like, in the NFL, the starters get the majority of the reps. I was sitting here trying to think of like, was there ever a moment where I was in practice, like especially on like a Wednesday, Thursday, or even a Friday, where all of a sudden they sent the backup or the 2s in to give you a break? I'm like, never. I mean, like never. Like they're like, you're the starter, you get every rep. Same with the quarterback. So that's that's pretty good to have a guy come in like that. So what's the off season going to look like? I know you took some trips and now you're down in Arizona training. Is a bunch of the Vikings guys down there? You guys are training as a group?
Yeah, it's awesome. Got a good spot here in Arizona. This would be my third or my fourth day down here starting training. Been good so far. A bunch of Vikings guys are down here, so it's good to kind of keep building that camaraderie and train together and be able to train as a group and kind of push each other. John Wren Jr. is down here. I know you're close with his dad, so that's cool to meeting him, training with him too.
Yeah.
So it's a good group of guys. It's been a lot of fun so far. Weather's great, and I think that's kind of a nice aspect of being down here is getting out of negative 20 and 30 degree weather in Minnesota and getting that natural sunlight and all that other good stuff that's good for you. So it's a cool spot down here.
Yeah. John Daniel just had a baby. His dad was sending me baby pictures. That's how old we are. But it was funny because I got on the call and he kept calling him Junior. And I was like, when did you start calling John Daniel Jr.? He's like, well, and it was just kind of funny. He's like, well, now he's got a baby and stuff. So it's funny to me as I knew John Daniel was like a little boy, like literally like younger than Cash. So to see him play and like the fact that like now he's got a kid, when I talked to his dad, he's like, fuck, how old do we feel? I'm like, dude, I feel really old now. The fact that John Daniel has a baby and he's been starting and playing the NFL, but he's a good dude, man. He's a nice kid. If you see him, tell him hello for me. I haven't seen him in a long time.
Yeah, I will. He said that you guys were like best friends when you guys were on the Eagles, so it was pretty cool. We made that connection the first day.
Yeah. Oh yeah, dude. So we used to get done with Friday practice, and John used to go eat, and then he would go home, and then I would always lift weights, and then I would eat, and then I used to drive over and meet him at the house. And like Runyon's claim to fame, you're gonna laugh at this, is he could drink a case of beer before it got warm. He would take it out of the fridge, and he could drink that before while they were still ice cold. And so I would try to show up and I could gauge how many drinks he had based on what was in the 12er. And so we'd sit down and the other hilarious thing is Runyon loved to drink and watch the Weather Channel. He was like talk about quirky. Like he loved to watch the Weather Channel to the point where I would always ask him, like, I'd be like, so what's the weather like going to be today? He'd be like, you know what? There's going to be a pressure front that's moving in. It's not supposed to snow to this and this. Like he had the fucking thing dialed to the point wherever we were going, I'm like, hey, John, what's the weather going to be like today? He'd be like, it's going to be 72 degrees. We're going to be sunny. We might get a little evening shower, but we're going to be okay. And so our joke was we'd go drink and watch the Weather Channel. And like, dude, John Daniel would hang out with us. And he was like the beer caddy. And just a hilarious time in my life. I regret going to the Chiefs for the mere fact that I didn't get more time to spend with Runyon, and I'm bummed that I got into a contract dispute and got traded. If I could go back in time, I'd be like, just fucking stay. These are great people. You have a great offensive line. Fucking don't worry about that shit. So I'm stoked you get to see him. So let me see what else I got.
That's so cool though. That's like old school NFL. Just like no one does that, anymore. Drink on Fridays before a game. Like that's just like. When you hear those kind of stories about like your generation of NFL players, like that's just like awesome. It's just old school NFL to me.
Runyon said the best way you play on Sunday is if you have a hangover on Saturday. So our deal was like the way that you play good on Sunday was you have to be hungover on Sunday. So that means you had to drink enough on Friday to have a 2-day hangover. And I was like, yeah, it makes total sense. And now that I think back on it, I was like, we were like, what the fuck were we thinking? I was like, dude, and then when I went to the Chiefs, I remember telling guys that, and they were like, are you fucking insane? I'm like, this is what we did, and we kicked ass. But yeah, that was a time before cell phone cameras too. Yeah. So we could go out and have a good time. There was a private club in Philly that was like an invite members only. That was like on the back of a pizza shop. You walk through the pizza shop, you go up these stairs, and it was literally like it was all tables and like bottle service and like lockers, and you had to like have a membership card. So there was like, no phones. So you had to put your phone in the locker, and it was kind of like a place you could go and hang out and have a good time. And now I think for you guys, like, fuck, you can't even leave your house. I mean, if you guys were to go out into a public place and have a drink, especially in the city, you'd have fucking Snapchats and videos and this, and then all of a sudden they tag the teams, and then next thing you know, you end up with some, like little dude coming down and being like, the general manager wants to see you up in his office, and he's like, I heard you were, I heard you were at the local bar having a drink, and you're like, what the fuck? So I can't imagine with the optics today, being able to pull off any of the shenanigans we pulled off. So I feel bad for you, but honestly, it's probably better that you're at home just hanging out, not getting into trouble, because we tried to get in as much trouble as possible.
I mean, it's definitely a fun hour for you guys. Like, it's true though. Like you have to be careful what you go out there and do. And people are taking videos and they see a big group of big guys and they're like, they kind of know what the deal is. So
yeah. No, it's
stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's I mean, we went out and raised hell, and I think we did it with not realizing that was like the ending of an era. So, but that fucking Runyon, man, and so what's hilarious is now he's in like charge of NFL and finding people. And I was joking with him. I was like, how disingenuous do you feel? He's like, not at all. I know what I'm like, I don't see anything fucking wrong with it. Fuck these guys. He's like, somebody has to bring law and order. I was like, you were by far the most fucking lawless thug, fucking crazy dude I know. And he's like, yep, perfect person to do this.
That's awesome.
Yeah. If Runyon comes and visits his son, or you get a chance to meet him, dude, like he is probably one of the most legendary dudes I've ever met in my life, and like one of the best people. I fucking love him to death. I'm sad that when I went to go play on another team, I wasn't able to kind of keep it together. And then he had a big birthday party. I think it was I can't remember if it was for his 50th. I think his 50th birthday, and he shot me an invite, and I was all set to go. And then we teach a private gig for the guys at DevGrew, and they were supposed to start on Monday, and Runyon's party was on Saturday. So I was going to fly in, go to the party, fly home Sunday. They all showed up on Friday to kind of do like their pre kind of deal. So like 5 of them showed up and basically like totally derailed everything. And like the guys showed up, and like we took the kids to dinner, which was kind of neat because I took the kids out to dinner with the guys. And one of the guys that was there actually was on the Bin Laden raid. And so, so it was telling some like cool stories, like not like, you know, the butler was like, oh yeah, you know, I was on the one that crashed. So it was kind of neat that the kids got to hear that. And then when we later on, when we like, hey, what was that guy talking about? So like there was some cool stuff, but yeah, I ended up having to like, you know, hang out with those guys, which wasn't a bad thing, but I missed Runyon's party and I was really pissed about it because the pictures look good and it would have been great to see everybody. So I fucked that one up, but he's a massive human being and just a fucking kick in the pants as a human, dude. I love that dude. So if you get a chance to meet him, tell him hello. And I just talked to him the other day.
I'll be on the lookout, see if he's out here.
Oh yeah, you see him. He like wears glasses now. He looks kind of old, but fucking don't let the looks fool you. That motherfucker will tear you. Like, dude, he's the best. So Jacob, our producer and video guy, had a pretty funny comment that he asked me. He goes, ask Will, who's the guy on the team who absolutely does not need to be on a mic'd up segment, but you secretly wish he was mic'd up?
Ooh, good one.
It's a good question, Jake.
I think that there is two that come to mind right away. One is John Allen. He played for the Redskins Commanders past couple of years. First year with Minnesota, we came in together as free agents. He just keeps it real. He'd be funny to hear on a mic'd up. I don't know if you could play everything that he'd be saying, but it'd be pretty awesome to hear him. And then Michael Juergens, one of our offensive line, played a couple games at center this year. Hilarious dude, really funny, just sarcastic, and I think you would get a lot of really good mic'd up content out of him. So those would be my two picks in the trenches.
So what about Braden Smith?
Braden Smith, he would not hear a whole lot of him on the field. He's pretty quiet when he plays. It would kind of be like the Daniel Jones mic'd up that the Colts played, where it's just kind of videos of him running around and not saying anything. I think that's one you get out of Braden.
Yeah,
until you're winning in the game-winning drive. When we played Tennessee in 23, and we were kicking their ass pretty good, Braden got animated at the end of the game. And that was pretty fun to see. Like he was like, "Oh, let's go!" Like he was getting after. Like he was showing some emotions. It was awesome. Dude, that was a fun Braden. That would have been a cool game for him to be mic'd up.
Isn't it funny where all of a sudden guys that are usually pretty quiet and all of a sudden they like start talking and you're like, what happened to fucking you? Did you wake up? But yeah, I had, obviously you set me up with Braden to have him on the podcast. Yeah. And
great dude. He's awesome.
Yeah, he was great. He, I could tell he wasn't a seasoned podcaster either because it was almost like pulling teeth. And like I was like had 10 questions and I burned through like 7 of them in the first like 6 minutes because he was giving me like one word responses. And I was like, Jesus. Like this is a give and take. And then I figured out pretty early on that like, we were going to have to like, cause I was trying to get into a bunch of origin stories to like kind of figure out like, cause and then like his his Abigail journey and some of the things that he happened. And we had to get to that really quick. And at that point he opened up and then next thing that we started talking about farming and like the dude fucking personality exploded. He all of a sudden, like, he's like, I didn't realize that like the way he envisions himself is sitting on a tractor, like working the land. And that was kind of neat to like realize that like he's a extremely talented fucking world beating football player, but like his real passion in life is fucking farming and working this land and like what he can like put in to like make it turn into something. And like it was neat to like see that level of excitement because if you think you meet most fans and they figure like playing football and being a professional football player is like the panacea. It's like fixed everything. It's like your sole desire in life. And then when they start talking to you about it and then they realize early on that like, this is what you do all day. And the last thing you want to do is come home and talk about it. They like kind of get butthurt. They're like, like super mad about it. And then you just have to figure out like a big part of conversation, especially doing podcasts, is finding and connecting things with the guests. And for him, and I had questions, I was like thinking his journey in this, turned out it was farming. Farming was his fucking deal. And like sitting on a tractor with his kids and like working the land was really what his like passion is. And it was neat to see that come out in him. And, like when I was kind of asking him for, a little bit of like, football stories animated, just none, just like, I don't know. I don't hear anything. I don't see anything. I don't even know their names. So I just fucking go out and beat people up. And I was like, all right, this is pretty good. Let's talk about farming and shit. Yeah. I was like, fuck this guy.
I mean, to that point, like obviously a guy that like went through a lot last year, like had a tough journey, but like is now like on the other side of that and, feels a lot better after doing all those treatments and all that stuff. But like when you get him going on the farming stuff, like super passionate about that. Like that was super cool for me because it's like, I don't know a whole lot about it, but like when I got him like to, open up about, what is his goal after football and stuff like that. And he talks about stuff like, it's really cool to hear because it's like, you get all these different people from different walks of life and like what they're actually interested in when you can hear their actual hobbies and something that you don't know a lot about. Like it's fun. Like it's fun to hear about all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And, and then like his, I think it's his wife's family has this huge plot. I think it's down in Tennessee, and that's what he does. And it was neat to see him having an outlet, that didn't look like, I don't know, fucking, making it rain and, strip clubs and, fucking gold teeth and, 24-inch wheels. So that was neat to see him kind of like come up and, and then the other issue you run into, especially on podcasts as a current NFL player, which is a little different than me, whereas, you're still on an active team. And I always feel like a lot of times on podcasts, especially with current players, like the people that are trying to get you to say shit as like aha moments. And so you have to be, somewhat a little bit guarded. But I also have to remember, like, I'm not trying to get any aha moments. What I'm trying to do is, like, for this podcast especially, like, let people see that, like, offensive linemen have good personalities. Like, it was like when we started doing this, or I'd meet people, they're like, wow, I didn't know offensive linemen were smart or articulating this. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? What do you think? We're a bunch of dumb lugs? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, well, who do you think the smart people are? They're like, well, the quarterbacks. I'm like, yeah, fuck those guys. I was like, you know what? Like it's always the most intellectually stimulating, funniest, most quirky, like hilarious dudes are always offensive linemen. And so much so that I think like that one dude from the Titans has that, what is it, Bussin' with the Boys?
Oh yeah, he's Taylor's funny. Yeah, he's got him and Will Compton got a good podcast. They're hilarious.
Yeah. I mean, they're funny dudes and they got good senses of humor and like, I think he started as I was ending, so I never really got a chance to see him on tape or any of that stuff. But like, it's kind of funny as a offensive lineman, and I'm sure you do this too. You watch so much film on guys that you end up kind of like creating a narrative, at least I did, on like what the person was like. And then when you meet them, you're like, I've been watching you for years. And then you kind of hope that like their personality kind of matches how you've kind of been, or at least you imagine them. And then sometimes it's good. And then other times you're like, no, this is fucking not at all what I was expecting out of this dude.
Like, it's fun when you can play a guy that like you want to hate and then like he talks a bunch of shit and you can hate him. But then it's like the worst when they're like, oh, good block, man. Or like they're like kind of patting you on the back while you're playing, like, I fucking hate that.
Well, we, because I used to hang with Tony Gonzalez. And so we'd always end up in like cool spots. And there was a defensive lineman for San Diego Chargers named Luis Castillo. And Luis is the nicest fucking dude on the planet. And I played against him a lot. And he was like I think he played at Ohio State. Maybe somewhere else, but yeah, I thought he played there. But he was a pretty excitable guy, so he used to get real wound up and like kind of like talk real, like had this kind of like almost like voice would get a little squeaky and like kind of run his mouth. And I started kind of like being like, fuck this guy. And then when I met him socially in the off season, nicest fucking dude on the planet. And yeah, and I was always like, fuck, because I was having to play against him because he would play the 3, and I kind of, this is fucking awful, but he fucked up his elbow pretty good. He hyperextended his elbow, so he went in and had surgery and the whole deal. And then they taped the shit out of it, and he'd wear a cast and this brace. So he was talking to me a bunch about his elbow, and I was like, oh shit. So when I went to go play against him, I'm like looking at that elbow, and I'm like, So he had a move where all of a sudden he gave you a shimmy and a club. And he used to club you with the arm that had the brace on it. So I kind of set soft and I saw the shimmy and I kind of lifted my arm on purpose. And I was trying to get him to like fucking, instead of hit me in the shoulder and drive me this way, I was trying to get him to hit me in the armpit. And so I lifted, and when he went for the shimmy, he like clubbed me, at which point I rolled over and basically trapped his arm in my armpit. And then I grabbed him, leaned back, and his arm did this, and I took off running and jumped in the air. And he fucking did this and like literally like launched him backwards and used his arm as the spring. Yeah, that was really fucked up because I hyperextended his elbow.
That's awesome.
And he fucking left, and that was the end of the game for him. And I saw him, and like after I was like, dude, I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened. And he was pretty pissed. But I felt like it was one of those things where like I wasn't intending to do it, but I'd seen this kind of shimmy in the club, and I was kind of like, "Fuck, he's gonna club me with this fucking arm that has this massive fucking elbow brace on."
You can't let that happen to you. You can't let it happen to you.
Yeah, and I was like, dude, if I get a shimmy club and this dude hits me in the shoulder and knocks me over and is able to slip it, it's gonna look bad. And like I was like, all right, so when I punch, I'm just gonna lift my arm and see if I can trap him. And literally, he shit it low, like right on the side of my body, and I just fucking lynched him under. And then I was like doing this and jumped, and it was hilarious on film because you see me hook him, and then I take off running and I jump in the air, and he fucking goes back and like explodes back, and the guys were like, "What the fuck is going on here?" We like watched it 10 times, and I told them, and they were like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" And I was like, fuck. And then when I saw him, I'm like, I was like, man, there were so many opportunities where like weird stuff happened where it's like, man, like, so I'm like, this is the norm for you. But I remember the first time where they strung the field with cameras over the field.
Yeah.
So like back in the day, they didn't have that. They just had like set cameras. And then all of a sudden we came out and the entire fucking field was covered with these wires, and they were shooting these cameras back and forth. So all of a sudden you're like in the huddle and you're standing there like listening to the quarterback, and you can look and you can see this camera fucking pointing at your face. And they're, and now what they've done is they've had so many cameras on the field, they can do 3D modeling. Which was eventually,
gotcha.
So now like that, when you're watching the NFL stuff, they'll like stop the game and they'll kind of like do this kind of 3D modeling where they show all this stuff. It's because they have all those cameras. But that was kind of weird where all of a sudden you were like, man, the big guy's looking at me. And then sure enough, like something happens, like you get a penalty or you fuck up, and then you see the camera looking right at you, and they're talking shit on you, and you're like, God damn it, wish this camera wasn't chasing my face.
Like on the film now, you can get the TV copy as part of the cut up.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, play of a penalty. It's like you go to the next thing and it's like Monday Night Football, and it's just your sweaty face, the eye black running down your face. And your name's all over the screen. You're like, okay, like 85% of the fan base hates me now.
I was laughing that your mascara was running during the game. I was like, I couldn't, dude, I saw you and I was laughing. I was like, look, his mascara's running, which was my standard joke because John Randall used to paint his face black, but John Randall was super dark. So he would paint like this, like this warrior thing on his face, but you couldn't see it. And I'd be like, I'd always fuck with him. Which wasn't good because he was really good and he used to fucking kill us. But I'd be like, Randall, I was like, what the fuck, dude? Your mascara's on, but I can't tell. And he was, we went to go play Seattle. And he had like the most wicked spin move you've ever seen. And Trey Thomas was playing against Grant Windstrom. And he was super nervous on Grant Windstrom because Grant Windstrom had this, really like he would like shoot, like he had a really hard inside charge, but he used to like use that deal to like basically set you up to where you'd step down too hard and then he'd do this kind of jump out move. And so Trey got real nervous. So the problem is with John Randall, like you couldn't set him deep because his spin move. So you had to kind of like just like quick 1-2 set him and kind of stay on the line. And then when he would spin, because he would spin in place. So he would take a step and then he would spin in place. So his goal was when he would take a step and spin, he wanted people to overset him. And most guys get like when they spin, they like gain distance. He didn't gain distance. He like spun like a top. So so what he would do is when he spun, most guys would overset him and then there'd just be a huge gap. And then he had fucking free ability to get wherever he wanted. So you kind of had to short set him, wait on the spin and then react. And Windstrom did like a head move. Trey got nervous, stepped inside. And his inside leg basically stepped on the outside of my ankle and blew my ankle out. Oh. So that was awful. So like literally just implodes my ankle. Like you rolls it in. Like they got to cart me off the field. And then I go over and they basically like cast my ankle and they're like trying to get me back in there. And I'm like, I can't fucking take a step. And they were like, you have to get back in there. And I was like, all right. I was like, dude, he's going to look at this cast. He's going to throw me a move, and like it's not like I'm not going to be able to do anything. And they were like, no, you'll be fine, you'll be fine. So I go out there, and I see him walk over to the line. He like looks at my ankle, looks at me, and he starts laughing. And I get down in the stance. He like throws this shimmy. I plant, and fucking literally just my ankle buckles, and I fall down. And he sacks the quarterback. And so then end of the year, we go to the Pro Bowl, and we're at the Pro Bowl. And we're all sitting around having drinks, and he sits down and he's looking right at me, and he like orders drinks, and he's like, man, Remember at the Eagles, I had that left guard that got his ankle hurt, and I beat him on that spin move for a sack. What happened to that motherfucker? And he said it, and like McNabb and the guys were sitting right there, and he was looking right at me when he said it, and I was kind of like, his fucking gave him a middle finger. He's like, yeah. He's like, drinks are on him. And so yeah, I had to buy a bunch of drinks, but it was really fucking funny to the point where like, and then he was like, man, he's like, I saw you get your ankle blown out and then they taped you and pushed you back in. He's like, Jesus Christ. He's like, that was the worst fucking thing. And he goes, and then I hit you with that spin move. I'm like, do you just want to keep reliving it all night? Like, let's keep reliving it. Yeah, it was, dude, that was like one of those funny NFL moments. And then, obviously you see him get inducted to the Hall of Fame, probably like, I think the best defensive lineman in history. So I didn't feel bad about it, but yeah, that was sitting at the Pro Bowl and having him make fun of me was in front of like 50 dudes was,
that hurts a little bit.
yeah, it hurt. So let's do a little bit of segment on the Super Bowl. It's coming up. You had the chance to play against both of these teams, Seattle and the Patriots, which is dope. I played against them too. So what do you think about this matchup? Is there anything that like the media is overlooking, or like, well, what are the key matchups, or what are the things you're excited for, and how do you think it's going to go?
I don't know. I feel like anything, maybe I'm biased, but it always comes down to O-line, D-line play. I think both teams have a really good defense. Like, playing against both these teams, both really good D-lines, like strong interior guys. So I don't know. I think it's going to be largely depend on how the interior of the pocket does. I think both sides have good interiors, like guards I like watching throughout the league. So I'm excited to see the matchup. I don't know what's really being overlooked. I think that both these quarterbacks are studs. Like, Sam's had a great year for Seattle, and Drake May, younger guy for New England's kind of came into his own, had a great year. So like it's really tough to say. I think it's gonna be a good game. I don't think it's gonna be very high scoring, just because how good the defenses are. So I don't know. Maybe I'll be wrong, but that's kind of what I'm thinking on it.
Okay. Did you also see, and you're going to laugh at this, did you also see that the NFL announced an Australia game next year with 8 other international games?
Yes, we had the privilege of playing in 2 this year, back to back, Dublin and London.
How was it?
That was that was pretty miserable.
Why?
So I'd never been either place, so I guess that's cool. But you don't get to really do a whole lot. So we played in Dublin at a soccer stadium. Like, that was a pretty cool experience. Like, I didn't mind that. But then we flew directly to London, had to spend a week in an old. I don't even know what you would call it. I guess it's a manor, and it had no AC, and you're living out of a hotel for a week. The place feels kind of haunted. Like, it was just not a fun experience for that week. I mean, it's kind of cool because like other sports teams get to do like these week-long trips, and like, so it's a good like bonding thing. We're kind of just shooting the shit all week and hanging out, but like, it was pretty miserable.
Well, the problem is you go to practice and then they're kind of keeping you sequestered. So it's not as if you got to go out and sightsee and go and fuck around in London and have fish and chips and drinks and like, whereas like every other sport, and I don't think people realize this, like baseball players, like they go on the road and like, they have a game that night. They like go to museums, they hang out, they like go play golf. They like, do all these things. Basketball guys, same things. Like they travel, they like get to go see the cities and hang out. Football, for some reason, they like fly in, you don't fucking see anything, and you get on a bus and you leave. And people are like, how is it? You're like, I don't know. I saw the hotel. And like, there's really like no opportunity to do anything. But I mean, Australia is a hell of a flight. I mean, that's like an entire
I don't
day.
know. I mean, I got to imagine it's the Rams, I think, is playing that game. But whoever they're playing, I hope it's another West Coast team. That's a monster flight.
Well, what they'll probably do is they'll probably do that flight, and then the next week will be a bye. So they'll probably like get you back late and fuck your entire bye week up. But with this like shitty, they're like, hey, you know what? Well, we'll do this international thing. We'll give them a bye, but then you fucking get home from this trip and you get home late, and then you're just fucking the bie is smashed because you're like, God damn, I played 2 games
you're
international.
Tired the whole week.
You're tired.
Trying to recover.
Yeah, it was. But yeah, that's. I think the NFL's taken it to heart. The idea that like the Super Bowl is the world champion, but yet like there's no world stage. So like it's kind of disingenuous because it's only played here in America. So I think the NFL is looking at it like, I can't imagine them like moving a current NFL team to a different international city. Like there's no fucking way.
No,
right?
That'd be insane. I think it is cool for like the fans are really into it. Like I don't know if they know exactly what they're cheering for, but like they're loud the whole game. Like when we played in Germany 2 years ago, loud the entire game.
Yeah, they have
Ireland was
like
loud the entire
whistles.
game. Like,
Were they blowing whistles and making all these crazy noises?
yeah, it was just like it was like you were playing. I mean, it was soccer stadiums and they were really nice, but like it was just like I think that's just how they're used to cheering. It's just loud.
Yeah. So just to finish up on the Super Bowl, do you have a prediction? Are you rooting for one team in particular, or who do you think's going to take it home?
I'm not really rooting for one team. Like I kind of said before, I'll probably just watch the O-line, D-line play because that's what interests me the most. It's usually what I watch, by week. I'm watching the O-line, D-line anyway. I think Seattle will probably win. I just feel like they're kind of on pretty good hot streak. I mean, New England's gonna be prepared really well. I mean, Coach Vrabel's a really good coach, I think. So it's tough to say. I think Seattle will probably win. They just kind of seem like they've been on a pretty good heater here as of late, and kind of strung together some pretty strong performances.
Okay. Well, we'll go with that, and I'm rooting for the Patriots just because I know Vrabel and played with him, played against him. He was a good teammate and not the type of dude that you look forward to playing against. But yeah, he's a fucking asshole, but in a good way. So I'll be rooting for them, and then you can root for Seattle. But hey, dude, thanks for jumping on the podcast and doing this little segment before the Super Bowl. I look forward to when you come visit, we can actually sit down here and really kind of chop it up and see what this thing looks like going forward. But dude, have a good training and enjoy Arizona, and hopefully I'll see you soon. And thanks for tuning in to Power Athlete Radio. See ya. This episode of Power Athlete Radio is powered by Train Heroic, the most immersive strength training app experience on the market. We've built an online training business by partnering with Train Heroic to deliver all of our world-class training programs like Jack Street, Hammer, Field Strong, and Grindstone. To learn which Power Athlete training program best suits your goals, head to powerathletehq.com/training. And if you're a coach looking to build a business with the best training tech in the business, head to trainheroic.com/powerathletehq. And now back to the show. Hey there, Power Athlete Nation. Big shout out to all the heavy hitters who stuck around till the final whistle. If you've been soaking in the knowledge bombs and epic tales we've been dropping for free, here's your chance to be a game changer. Swing by ko-fi.com/powerathlete and toss a few bucks our way to keep the podcast fueled and firing on all cylinders. That's ko-fi.com/powerathlete. Your support makes a difference. See ya.